Talk to us a little bit first. Just tell us, where were your symptoms that brought you to see Ryan?
So I had always struggled with migraines growing up, and they had just progressively gotten worse. I have been treated with multiple medications, all the triptans that you can be treated with, and progressively they were just getting worse. And it wasn't until last summer, so the summer of 2021, when my migraines were so bad that I was getting 3 or 4, almost 5 migraines a week. I would be at work, and I work on a job site in construction, and it's just not feasible for me to step away in the middle of the day and take a nap to sleep off my migraine. And at the time, the medicine that I was taking was just not doing the job. I was nauseous. It would make me puke. I was so sick to my stomach all the time, but the migraines were not getting better. And I finally got a recommendation from my physician to go and seek help from a neurologist, because it was so severe in the pain that I was dealing with. And I have aura migraines. So when I do get my migraines, I'm not only limited in, all my senses, where I'm not feeling good, and it's the light that distracts me, and I go blind, in a sense, and it's severely uncomfortable, and I can't do anything. I can't see. I can't drive usually when I was having those type of migraines. So I was referred to a neurologist in Blacksburg, and he referred me to Ryan, along with, certain treatment options and managing medication through muscle relaxers and trigger point injections as well. And that's when I started to see Ryan, I think once weekly.
Yeah, I think it was about once a week.
Okay. All right. Before we jump into your experience with Ryan, I want to go back a little bit further and just have you help us. We hear migraines a lot from patients. A lot of people use that word for just any sort of a headache. We understand that there are certain mechanisms or certain, characteristics that would qualify one as being a true migraine. Will you forget what you've heard from the doctors for 1 second and just speak to us as if you're just describing your symptoms? Tell us anything and everything you were experiencing.
Yeah. So usually at first I always have this weird feeling. It's kind of like I feel like I'm in a distorted reality. Everything feels uncomfortable. I feel like I'm in some distorted world where nothing is real, and it's all coming at me. I'm hypersensitive to everything that's around me. And I can feel it coming. And so it kind of drives up my anxiety a little bit, because I prepare myself for it. Then just getting into the migraine itself, I'm nauseous and I just am not feeling very good. Then I start to lose my peripheral vision at first, which isn't noticeable for the most part, unless you start to hold up your hand right in front of your eyes. And then you kind of realize that you can't see your hand. And losing that vision is kind of a key to me that it's a migraine.
Okay.
What are my other symptoms?
Where in your head do you have pain, or do you have pain?
Yes, I do have pain. Usually I get the aura effects prior to getting the actual migraine. When I do get the migraine, it's kind of all over. It doesn't feel like it's in my brain. It feels like my brain is combusting kind of, and my skull hurts almost. So it's overall, it's like I'm wearing a pain cap, and it's all over my head.
Okay. And you said that when things got really bad and more near when you saw Ryan, that they were becoming 3 to 5 times every week. What were they? And so how young were you when you first started having them? How frequent were they back then? And then talk about the progression a touch.
Yeah, so I think I would get really bad headaches as a child, and I would just never feel good. And when I hit middle school, I really started getting bad headaches, to the point where I was going to the school nurse and having my mom come and pick me up from school. When I got to high school, the aura aspect of my migraines really started hitting me bad. They would get worse during the school year. They weren't as bad during the summer times. And I usually would notice I would get them really bad when I was tapering down from stress. So I'd hit finals and I'd be stressed. And the day after finals, I would get severely sick with a migraine. That's when I noticed it. But I would get them throughout the year, probably once or twice a month on average, where I was calling my mom, having her coming to pick me up from school. When I came to college, they started getting even worse than that. I would have them freshman year of my college experience. I would have them maybe once a week. On a good week, I wouldn't have them at all and would consider myself to be super lucky. Sophomore year, that's when it really started to progress into something a lot worse than just having a migraine. And this was during COVID. So 2020, 2021 school year, I had the ability to sleep through the day and turn on my computer next to my bedside table in a dark room and just watch or listen to my classes. So, but I was having migraines at least twice a week then as well.
Okay. And you mentioned it made you sick to your stomach. You vomited, the type of thing as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long might they last? When you had one, was it the rest of that day and the next morning you're fine, or did it go multiple days?
Typically, I would have a full day of migraines. So I would have the migraine event during the day. And I don't know if there's an actual term for this, but I always call it a migraine hangover. So the next day, any sudden movements would kind of trigger an immense amount of pain in my head that was super unbearable. But any light activity such as walking, I could kind of move around my daily life, take an Advil in the morning and feel okay, still feeling off and discombobulated. But by day 3, I was pretty much okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you remember, and I'm sure you remember this question from Ryan, but did you ever associate that neck motion was somewhat, it came along with the migraines, or did you see that, no, I just have the headache and all of these symptoms without really recognizing any stiffness or discomfort or limitation in neck movement?
I never noticed the discomfort until I started seeing Ryan.
Hear the entire episode for free on iTunes, Spotify, other favorite podcast players, or go to mechanicalcareforum.com.